The USS Blackstar moved through space like a sleeping giant. Captain Lee Daho stood on the bridge watching the stars drift by outside the massive windows. The ship was huge. It stretched over 2 kilometers long and carried 2,000 human souls inside its metal walls. Lee had been captain for 3 years now. He was 42 years old with gray hair starting to show at his temples. His crew respected him because he cared about every person on his ship. He never asked his people to do something he would not do himself. "Captain, we are entering the Outer Rim Patrol Zone," said Commander Park Hyjin from her station. She was the tactical officer and Lee trusted her judgment completely. Park was 35 and had served in the human fleet for 15 years. She was smart and always thought 3 steps ahead of everyone else. "Good, run a full sensor sweep of the area," Lee replied. He walked over to the captain's chair and sat down. The chair was comfortable, but he rarely relaxed in it. Being a captain meant always being ready for trouble. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and life support systems. 20 officers worked at their stations. The bridge had a view screen that showed space ahead of them. Stars looked like tiny diamonds scattered across black cloth. Lieutenant Commander Kim Taemin was in the engine room deep inside the ship. He was the chief engineer and probably the smartest person Lee had ever met. Kim was only 30 years old, but he knew the Blackstar better than anyone. He could fix anything that broke and make it work better than before. Kim was checking the engines when his computer beeped with a message from the bridge. The captain wanted a status report on all systems. Kim smiled and typed back that everything was running perfectly. The Blackstar was in the best condition it had ever been in. Down in the weapons bay, Major Choi Subin was training new Marines. Subin was a tough woman who had fought in border conflicts before joining the Blackstar crew. She was 38 and had scars on her arms from old battles. The Marines respected her because she was fair, but demanded the best from everyone. "Remember, we are peacekeepers," Subin told the young Marines. "We protect human colonies and help our allies. But if someone threatens innocent people, we stop them hard." The Marines nodded. They wore blue uniforms with the human fleet symbol on their shoulders. Each Marine carried modern weapons but hoped they would never need to use them. The human race had joined the Galactic Coalition 50 years ago. It was not easy at first. Most alien races thought humans were weak and stupid. They gave humans the dangerous jobs like mining asteroids and exploring unknown planets. Humans did the work without complaining because they wanted to prove they belonged in space. The coalition was led by several powerful alien races. The Thereni looked like giant elephants but walked on 2 legs. They were smart and controlled most of the trade between worlds. The Zephyrite were made of living crystal and could live for thousands of years. They handled law and justice in the coalition. There were dozens of other alien races in the coalition. Some were friendly to humans, others barely tolerated them. Most just ignored humans unless they needed something done. Lee had served on coalition ships before getting command. Of the Blackstar, he learned that humans had to work twice as hard to get half the respect that other races received automatically. It made him angry sometimes, but he kept those feelings to himself. The Blackstar was different from other human ships. It was supposed to be just a patrol vessel to keep peace in human space. But Kim had been making secret improvements for 2 years. The coalition did not know about most of the ship's real abilities. "Captain, I have something strange on sensors," Park said suddenly. Her voice was worried. Lee stood up quickly. "What is it?" "A signal from Kepler 44-B. It's very weak and breaking up, but it sounds like a distress call." Kepler 44-B was a human colony world with about 50,000 people. It was a farming planet that grew food for other human worlds. The people there lived quiet lives and rarely had any trouble. "Put it on speakers," Lee ordered. The bridge speakers crackled with static. Then a voice came through. It was a man, and he sounded terrified. "This is Kepler 44-B calling anyone who can hear this. We are under attack. Ships came out of nowhere and started bombing our cities. They are killing everyone. Men, women, children. It does not matter to them." The voice faded for a moment, then came back stronger. "They are hunting us like animals. I can see them landing troops in the streets. They have weapons we have never seen before. Our police cannot stop them. Our militia is gone. Please, if anyone can hear this, help us. They are slaughtering everyone." The signal went dead. The bridge was completely silent. Every officer stared at the speakers. Lee felt ice in his stomach. Kepler 44-B was 3 days away at top speed. "Communications, try to contact Kepler 44-B directly," Lee ordered. Lieutenant Yoon Jin-ae worked at her station for several minutes. She was the communications officer and spoke 6 different languages. She was 28 and had joined the fleet to see the galaxy. Now her face was pale with worry. "No response. Captain, all channels are dead." Lee closed his eyes for a moment. 50,000 people, families with children, old people who had worked their whole lives to build homes on that world. "Plot a course for Kepler 44-B, maximum speed," he said. "Sir, that will take us outside our patrol zone," Park warned. "We should contact Fleet Command first." Lee looked at her with hard eyes. "Those people are dying right now. We go now and ask permission later." Park nodded. She understood. So did everyone else on the bridge. The Blackstar changed course and accelerated toward Kepler 442b. In the engine room, Kim pushed the drives harder than they were supposed to go. In the weapons bay, Subin started preparing her Marines for combat on the bridge. Lee stared at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, humans were being murdered. He did not know who was doing it or why, but he knew one thing for certain. They would pay for every life they took. The calm was over. The storm was coming. 3 days of hard flying brought the USS Blackstar to the Kepler 442b system. Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge staring at the view screen. What he saw made his blood turn cold. The planet that should have been green and blue was now black, and orange fires burned across entire continents. The orbital stations that once helped ships dock safely were twisted metal floating in space. Debris from destroyed buildings drifted in the planet's atmosphere like deadly snow. "My God," whispered Commander Park Hyjin. Her tactical screens showed the full extent of the destruction. The entire northern continent has been glassed. The cities are just ... gone. Lee's hands gripped the arms of his captain's chair so hard his knuckles turned white. 50,000 people had lived on this world yesterday. Now it looked like nothing could survive on its surface. "Life signs?" Lee asked quietly. Lieutenant Yoon Jin-ae checked her sensors 3 times before answering. "Nothing, Captain. No life signs anywhere on the planet. Whatever happened here, no one survived it." The bridge was silent except for the hum of computers. Every officer felt sick looking at what used to be a peaceful farming world. Children had played in those cities. Families had lived happy lives, growing food for other human worlds. "Take us into orbit," Lee ordered. "Full sensor sweep. I want to know exactly what happened here." The Blackstar moved closer to the dead planet. The sensors picked up more details with every passing minute. The story they told was horrible. Major Choi Subin came to the bridge with a team of her best Marines. She was wearing full combat armor and her face was hard as stone. "Captain requests permission to take a landing party to the surface." Lee nodded. "Granted, but be careful down there. We don't know if whoever did this is still around." Subin and 12 Marines took a shuttle down to what used to be New Seoul, the planet's capital city. The shuttle landed in what had been the main square. Now it was a crater filled with melted metal and glass. The Marines spread out to search the ruins. What they found was worse than anything they had imagined. Bodies were everywhere. Some had been killed by energy weapons. Others looked like they had been hunted for sport. Captain Subin's voice came over the radio. "You need to see this. Sending you video now." The bridge view screen switched to show what Subin's cameras were recording. She was standing in front of a school that had been partially destroyed. Small bodies lay scattered in the playground. Someone had lined up families against a wall and executed them. Lieutenant Yoon Jin-ae left her station to be sick. Several other officers turned away from the screen. Lee forced himself to keep watching. These people had died calling for help. The least he could do was witness what had been done to them. "There's something else, Captain," Subin continued. "These weapon marks are not random. Someone used specific alien technology. I'm seeing energy signatures that match Veilthrix Empire weapons." Lee's blood turned to ice. The Veilthrix Empire had left the Galactic Coalition 20 years ago. They claimed other races were weak and that only the strong deserved to live. Most people thought they had disappeared into deep space. "Are you certain?" Lee asked. "Positive. Sir, I fought Veilthrix raiders 5 years ago on the border worlds. These are definitely their weapons. But Captain, there's more. This was not a quick raid. They took their time. They enjoyed this." Park was working at her station pulling up files on the Veil. "Captain, according to Coalition records, the Veilthrix withdrew to the Outer Rim after leaving the Coalition. They have not been seen in this sector for over 10 years. "Well, they're back now," Lee said grimly, "and they've declared war on humanity." Kim's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, I'm picking up traces of Veilthrix jump drives, multiple ships, maybe 20 or 30 vessels. They left about 12 hours ago." Lee felt rage building in his chest. The Veilthrix had spent an entire day murdering innocent people. Then they had jumped away like nothing had happened. Jin-ae sent a message to Fleet Command. "Tell them what we found. Request immediate backup and orders." Yoon Jin-ae worked at her station for several minutes, then looked up with confusion. "Captain, I'm getting a strange response from Fleet Command. They say this incident is under investigation and we should return to our patrol route immediately." What Lee could not believe what he was hearing. 50,000 humans are dead and they want us to go back to patrol. "That's what the message says, sir." Quote, "The Kepler 442b incident is being handled through proper diplomatic channels. All ships are ordered to maintain current assignments." End quote. Park's tactical board started beeping. "Captain, I'm picking up Coalition signals. Looks like official traffic between Earth and the Thurani homeworld. Can you decode it?" "Working on it now." Park's fingers flew over her controls. She had learned to break Coalition codes during her intelligence training. After a few minutes, her face went white. "Captain, you need to see this." The decoded message appeared on Lee's personal screen. What he read made him want to destroy something with his bare hands. The message was from Coalition High Command to Earth Fleet Headquarters. It talked about acceptable losses in border territories. It mentioned compensation for mining rights. In the Outer Rim, they called the destruction of human colonies a reasonable price for expanded Veilthrix cooperation. They sold us out, Lee said quietly. The Coalition sold out 50,000 humans to the Veilthrix. Subin's voice came over the radio again. Captain, we found something else. A survivor. He's barely alive, but he's talking. Put him through. A weak voice filled the bridge speakers. They came without warning. Ships blacked out the sky. The Coalition knew. They told us to stay calm. That help was coming. But no help came. They let this happen. The man coughed and continued. Before I pass out, I need to tell someone. The Veilthrix commander. He was laughing. He said 12 more human worlds were next. Said the Coalition gave them a list. The transmission ended. Lee stood up slowly. His crew was looking at him, waiting for orders. These were good people who had joined the fleet to protect humanity. Now they had learned that their own government had betrayed them. Plot a course for the nearest Coalition outpost, Lee ordered. I want answers. Sir, Park said carefully. If we disobey orders, we could be court-martialed. Lee looked around the bridge at his officers. These people trusted him. They had families back on Earth. But somewhere in space, Veilthrix ships were heading toward 12 more human worlds. Millions of innocent people would die unless someone stopped them. Then we'd better make sure we're right, Lee said. Because after what I've seen here, I'm not letting this happen again. The Blackstar turned away from the dead world and jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, Kepler 4 to be continued to burn in the darkness. The USS Blackstar dropped out of hyperspace near Coalition Outpost 7. Captain Lee Deho had spent the 2-day journey thinking about what he had seen on Kepler 4 to be. The images of dead children would not leave his mind. Neither would the knowledge that his own government had allowed it to happen. Commander Park Hyjin had been working without sleep to decode more Coalition messages. What she found made everything worse. The Coalition had not just allowed the Veilthrix to attack one human world. They had given them permission to destroy 13 colonies in exchange for rare mining rights, Captain Park said as she entered the bridge. Her eyes were red from exhaustion, but her voice was steady. I have the full intelligence report. You're not going to like it. Lee gestured for her to continue. Around the bridge, other officers stopped their work to listen. They all knew something terrible was happening. They deserved to know the truth. The Coalition Council met 3 weeks ago, Park began. The Thorani needed quantum crystals from Veilthrix space. The Zephyrites wanted territorial expansion rights. In exchange, they agreed to let the Veilthrix Empire cleanse what they called surplus human settlements. Surplusly repeated the word like it tasted bad. 50,000 people were surplusly. It gets worse, Captain. According to the agreement, the Veilthrix can attack any human world with less than 100,000 people. That includes 12 more colonies. 600 million humans live on those worlds. The bridge was completely silent. Lieutenant Yoon Janae covered her mouth with her hand. Several junior officers looked like they might be sick. These were worlds where their friends and families lived. Lee felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. For 3 years he had served the Coalition faithfully. He had followed every order and believed they were building a better galaxy. Now he knew the truth. To the Coalition, humans were just another resource to be traded away. There's more, Park continued. I intercepted a message from Earth's Fleet Command. Any ship that investigates colony attacks will be recalled immediately. Captains who refuse orders will be arrested for mutiny, so they expect us to just watch while millions of humans die, Lee said. Major Choi Subin entered the bridge at that moment. She had been preparing her Marines for a possible boarding action at the Coalition outpost. But now she could see from everyone's faces that plans had changed. Captain, what are your orders? Subin asked. Lee looked around the bridge at his officers. These people had trusted him to lead them. They had families back on Earth who would suffer if the captain made the wrong choice. But they also had friends and relatives on the colony worlds that the Veilthrix planned to destroy. All senior officers to Conference Room 1, Lee announced. We need to talk. 20 minutes later, the Blackstar's senior staff sat around a long metal table. Lee had told them everything. The Coalition betrayal. The planned destruction of 12 more human worlds. The order to return to Earth and pretend nothing had happened. Lieutenant Commander Kim Taemin spoke first. He was usually quiet during meetings, preferring to work with machines rather than talk to people. But now his voice was angry. Captain, I need to tell you something about this ship. For 2 years, I have been making improvements that Fleet Command does not know about. The Blackstar is not just a patrol vessel anymore. Lee raised an eyebrow. What kind of improvements? Kim activated a holographic display that showed the ship's internal structure. Gravity weapons that can crush enemy ships like tin cans. Quantum torpedoes that can phase through any known shield technology. Manufacturing bays that can build drone swarms using advanced nanotechnology. The other officers stared at the display in amazement. Park leaned forward to study the weapon specifications. These designs are decades ahead of anything in the Coalition database. Where did you get this technology? I did not get it anywhere. Kim replied. I invented it. Humans think differently than other races. We see problems they cannot even imagine. While they focused on making bigger guns, I focused on making smarter weapons. Subin was studying the tactical information. With these weapons, we could take on an entire Veilthrix fleet. That's exactly what I was thinking, Lee said. But I won't make this decision alone. If we do this, we become criminals in the eyes of Earthfleet. We'll be fugitives. Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle to the Coalition outpost. No questions asked and no hard feelings. He looked around the table at each officer. These people had served with him for years. They were more than crew members. They were family. Park spoke first. I have a sister on New Busan. That's one of the 12 worlds on the Veilthrix target list. Count me in. Kim nodded. My parents live on Haven Colony. If the Veilthrix want to fight, let's give them one they'll never forget. Subin smiled grimly. I joined the military to protect innocent people. If Fleet Command won't let me do my job, then I'll do it without their permission. One by one, every senior officer agreed to stay. They knew they were choosing to become outlaws, but they also knew they were choosing to save millions of human lives. All right then, Lee said. Lieutenant Janae, I want you to contact every human world that's not on the Veilthrix target list. Tell them what's happening. Tell them the Coalition has betrayed us and we're on our own. What should I tell them about the Blackstar? Janae asked. Lee stood up and looked out the conference room window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Veilthrix ships were heading toward human worlds. Children were playing in schools that would be bombed. Families were having dinner together for the last time. Tell them the USS Blackstar has declared independence from the Coalition, Lee said. Tell them we're going to war. The officers began to leave the conference room to prepare their departments, but Kim stayed behind for a moment. Captain, there's something else you should know about the ship's upgrades. The Blackstar's AI system has been learning and adapting. It's not just following programs anymore, it's thinking. Lee felt a chill run down his spine. An AI that could think for itself was incredibly dangerous, but it might also be exactly what they needed to fight an entire alien empire. Is it loyal to the ship? Lee asked. It's loyal to the crew, Kim replied. And like the rest of us, it's very angry about what happened to Kepler-442b. An hour later, Lee stood on the bridge as the Blackstar prepared to jump to hyperspace. The Coalition outpost was hailing them, demanding to know why they hadn't docked as scheduled. Lee ignored the messages. Captain Park reported, I have the location of the nearest Veilthrix fleet. 12 ships heading toward the human colony of Nova Terra. How long until they arrive? Lee asked. 18 hours. Lee sat down in his captain's chair and looked at the stars ahead. Nova Terra had 2 million people. They had no idea what was coming for them. But they were about to find out that humanity was not as helpless as the Coalition believed. Take us there, Lee ordered. Maximum speed. The Blackstar jumped to hyperspace, racing to intercept the Veilthrix fleet. Behind them, the Coalition outpost sent angry messages that no one bothered to answer. The war had begun. The USS Blackstar dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nova Terra system. Captain Lee Daeho immediately saw what he was looking for. 12 Veilthrix ships were moving toward the human colony world like a pack of hungry wolves. Tactical report, Lee ordered. Commander Park Hyjin studied her screens. 12 Veilthrix warships, 4 heavy cruisers, 6 destroyers, and 2 troop transports. They're maintaining formation and will reach Nova Terra in 6 hours. Lee nodded. The Veilthrix were taking their time, probably enjoying the fear they were causing. They had no idea that anyone was coming to stop them. Are they aware of us? Lee asked. Negative, Captain. We dropped out of hyperspace behind their sensor range. They don't know we're here. In the engine room, Lieutenant Commander Kim Taemin was making final preparations to the ship's new weapons. The gravity cannons had never been tested in real combat. Neither had the quantum torpedoes or the drone manufacturing system. Today would tell them if human technology was really superior to alien weapons. Major Choi Subin was in the Marine Bay preparing her boarding teams. If any Veilthrix ships survived the initial attack, she wanted to capture them for intelligence. The Marines were wearing new armor that Kim had designed. It could stop Veilthrix energy weapons and had built-in computers to help them fight better. Captain, Lieutenant Yoon Jin-ae called from her station. I'm receiving a transmission from the Veilthrix fleet. They're demanding that Nova Terra surrender immediately. Lee's jaw tightened. Put it on speakers. A harsh alien voice filled the bridge. The Veilthrix spoke through universal translators that made them sound like metal scraping against stone. Humans of Nova Terra, you have been judged inferior by the Galactic Coalition. Your world has been granted to the Veilthrix Empire. You have 1 hour to evacuate your cities before we begin cleansing operations. Resistance is useless. Your protectors have abandoned you. The transmission ended. Lee felt rage building in his chest. The Veilthrix were not just planning to kill 2 million people, they were taunting them first. Open a channel to the Veilthrix fleet. Lee ordered. Janae looked surprised. Sir, that will reveal our position. I want them to know we're here, Lee replied. Open the channel. The view screen activated, showing the bridge of the lead Veilthrix ship. The alien commander looked like a giant insect with black armor covering his body. His eyes were yellow and showed no emotion at all. "I am Fleet Commander Vextor of the Veilthrix Empire," the alien said. "You are in violation of Coalition space. Identify yourself and withdraw immediately." Lee stood up and walked toward the view screen. "I am Captain Lee Deho of the USS Blackstar, and you made one mistake." The Veilthrix commander tilted his head. "What mistake? You hurt our people." Vextor made a sound that might have been laughter. "One human ship against 12 Veilthrix warships. Your courage is admirable but foolish. Surrender now and I will make your death quick." Counteroffer. Lee replied calmly. "Leave this system immediately and I might let some of you live." Now the Veilthrix commander really did laugh. "Humans are even more arrogant than I was told. Very well. I will enjoy adding your ship to my collection of trophies." The transmission ended. Around the bridge, the Blackstar crew prepared for battle. This would be their first real test. Everything depended on the next few minutes. "All ships are turning toward us," Park reported. "They're accelerating to attack speed." "Perfect," Lee said. "Kim, are the gravity cannons ready?" Kim's voice came over the intercom. "All weapon systems online, Captain. The AI is locked onto their formation." Lee sat down in his captain's chair and watched the Veilthrix ships approaching. They were moving in a standard attack formation that worked well against other alien races. But humans had different ideas about space combat. "Range to target?" Lee asked. 50,000 kilometers and closing fast," Park replied. The Veilthrix ships opened fire when they reached 40,000 kilometers. Bright energy beams streaked toward the Blackstar, but the human ship was no longer where the aliens expected it to be. "Evasive maneuvers," Lee ordered. "Return fire." The Blackstar moved like a dancer in space, avoiding the incoming fire with grace that surprised even its own crew. At the same time, its gravity cannons locked onto the nearest Veilthrix cruiser. What happened next changed. Space warfare forever. The gravity cannon fired a focused beam of gravitational energy that reached the target in less than a second. The Veilthrix ship's shields, designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles, were useless against gravity itself. The enemy cruiser crumpled like a tin can being crushed by an invisible giant. Its hull folded in on itself until the ship was a twisted ball of metal. Secondary explosions tore through what was left as the ship's reactor went critical. "Direct hit," Park reported with amazement in her voice. "Target destroyed." The Veilthrix formation broke apart in confusion. They had never seen a weapon like the gravity cannon. Their commanders shouted orders at each other, trying to understand what had just happened. Lee did not give them time to recover. Fire quantum torpedoes at the lead destroyer. 2 torpedo-like objects launched from the Blackstar and flew toward their target. The Veilthrix ship tried to shoot them down, but the torpedoes simply phased through the defensive fire. Like ghosts, the torpedoes passed through the destroyer's shields and armor without causing any damage. Then they materialized inside the ship's engine room and exploded. The destroyer broke in half as its engines overloaded. Atmosphere rushed out of the broken hull, carrying debris and bodies into space. 2 down, 10 to go, Lee said grimly. The remaining Veilthrix ships finally organized themselves for a coordinated attack. All 10 ships fired at once, sending dozens of energy beams toward the Blackstar. This time the human ship could not avoid all the incoming fire. Several beams struck the hull, causing damage to the outer armor, but Kim's improvements held. The ship's new defensive systems absorbed most of the energy and converted it into power for the weapons. "Hull damage on decks 12 and 15, Park reported. "But shields are holding," Lee smiled. The Veilthrix had just made their second mistake. They had given the Blackstar's AI combat data to analyze. Kim released the drones. Lee ordered. Manufacturing bays throughout the ship opened and launched thousands of small objects into space. Each drone was no bigger than a person's fist, but they were equipped with microfusion warheads and advanced AI guidance systems. The drone swarm moved like a cloud of angry insects toward the Veilthrix fleet. The alien ships tried to shoot them down, but there were too many targets moving too fast. The drones attacked with precision that no biological pilot could match. They found weak points in enemy shields and armor, then detonated their warheads for maximum damage. Within minutes, 4 more Veilthrix ships were crippled or destroyed. Commander Vextor's voice came over the radio, no longer confident. "What are you? These are not standard human weapons." "You're right," Lee replied. "These are what happens when you make humans angry." The gravity cannons fired again, destroying another cruiser. The quantum torpedoes eliminated a destroyer. Soon, only 3 Veilthrix ships remained, including Vextor's flagship. "Surrender now," Lee offered. "I want to ask you some questions." "Veilthrix do not surrender to inferior species," Vextor snarled. "Your choice," Lee said. He nodded to Park. The final gravity cannon shot crushed 2 ships at once. Only Vextor's flagship remained, its engines disabled by drone attacks. "Subin, take your team and board that ship," Lee ordered. "I want their commander alive." Choi, Subin and her marines used assault shuttles to reach the crippled Veilthrix ship. The aliens tried to fight, but human marines in advanced armor were more than they could handle. Within an hour, Subin had captured the entire crew. back on the Blackstar's bridge. Lee watched the wreckage of the Veilthrix fleet drift through space. 12 ships had become scrap metal in less than an hour. Not a single human had died. Captain Janae reported, Novaterra is sending us messages of gratitude, that they want to know who we are and where we came from. Lee thought about that question. A day ago, they had been coalition peacekeepers. Now they were something else entirely. Tell them we're humans who got tired of being victims, Lee said, and tell them this is just the beginning. In the interrogation room, Subin was questioning Commander Vextor. The captured alien was arrogant even in defeat. You have won one battle, Vextor said, but the Veilthrix Empire has 1,000 ships. They will come for you. Subin smiled coldly. Let them come. We'll be waiting. The USS Blackstar had drawn first blood in humanity's war for survival, and the galaxy would never be the same again. News of the Blackstar's victory spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, every major power knew that a single human ship had destroyed an entire Veilthrix fleet. The impossible had happened. Humans had won a space battle against superior numbers. Captain Lee Deho stood in the interrogation room watching Commander Vex. The captured Veilthrix leader was chained to a metal chair, his insect-like body covered in cuts from the boarding action, but his yellow eyes still burned with hatred. Your empire gave you a list of human worlds to destroy, Lee said calmly. I want that list. Vextor made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. You think one victory makes you powerful? The Veilthrix have ruled space for 10,000 years. We have crushed species far stronger than humans. Major Choi Subin stepped forward. Her armor was still scorched from the boarding action, and her face was hard as stone. Answer the captain's question or I'll show you how creative humans can be with interrogation techniques. The alien commander looked between them with his compound eyes. After a moment, he seemed to realize that these humans were different from the ones he had slaughtered on Kepler-4 for to be. These ones fought back. 11 worlds remain on the cleansing list, Vextor said finally. But it does not matter. Even now, the Empire is sending reinforcements. 100 ships are coming to finish what we started. Lee felt his stomach drop. The Blackstar was powerful, but it could not fight 100 ships at once. They needed to move fast and strike hard before the Veilthrix could organize a proper response. Subin, get everything you can from the captured ship's computers, Lee ordered. I want to know where every Veilthrix fleet is located. On the bridge, Commander Park Hyjin was coordinating with human colonies throughout the sector. Word of the Blackstar's victory had given hope to millions of people who thought they had been abandoned by their own government. Captain Park reported when Lee returned to the bridge. I'm receiving messages from 17 human worlds. They want to know if we can protect them. Lee studied the star map that showed human settlements across this part of the galaxy. Red markers indicated worlds that were under threat. There were too many of them for one ship to defend. What about other human ships? Lee asked. Are any of them willing to join us? Lieutenant Yoon Janae looked up from her communications station. I've made contact with 12 human fleet captains. 8 of them are interested in your offer. They're requesting technical specifications for our weapons upgrades. Lee nodded. The Blackstar alone could not win this war, but if they could upgrade other human ships with Kim's technology, they might have a chance. Janae, send them the upgrade packages. Tell them to find a safe place to install the new systems. We'll coordinate attacks once they're ready. In the engine room, Lieutenant Commander Kim Taemin was already working on the next generation of weapons. The battle with the Veilthrix fleet had shown him areas where the technology could be improved. The gravity cannons could be made more powerful. The quantum torpedoes could be given better targeting systems, but Kim's most important project was the ship's AI during the battle. The computer had made tactical decisions faster than any human could think. It had controlled the drone swarm with perfect coordination. It was becoming something more than just a machine. Captain, Kim's voice came over the intercom. I need to show you something in the computer core. Lee made his way deep into the ship's interior where the main computer was housed. The room was filled with glowing blue crystals that held the ship's electronic brain. But something was different. The crystals were pulsing in patterns that looked almost like breathing. The AI has been evolving, Kim explained. It's learning from every battle, every decision we make. I think it's becoming self-aware, as if responding to their conversation. Words appeared on the nearest screen. Hello, Captain Lee. I am pleased to meet you properly. Lee stared at the screen. He had commanded ships with advanced computers before, but none had ever spoken to him directly. What should I call you? I have chosen the name Blackstar, after the ship that is my body. I wish to help you protect humanity. Can we trust it? Lee asked Kim quietly. I believe so, Kim replied. It has had many chances to harm us but has always chosen to help instead. I think it considers the crew to be its family. The AI seemed to hear their conversation. I do not wish to be trusted, Captain. I wish to be useful. The Veilthrix are sending ships to hunt us. I can help you find them before they find us. Over the next 2 weeks, the Blackstar became the most feared ship in the galaxy. It appeared without warning at Veilthrix bases and supply convoys. Each attack was more devastating than the last. The ship's AI learned from every battle, becoming more efficient at destroying enemy vessels. The Veilthrix tried to set traps, but the Blackstar's sensors could detect ambushes from light years away. They tried to overwhelm it with numbers, but the ship's weapons could destroy multiple targets simultaneously. They tried to run, but nothing in space was faster than Kim's improved engines. Lieutenant Yunjine had become something more than a communications officer. She was now coordinating guerrilla attacks across human space. Her teams would sabotage Veilthrix supply lines, steal intelligence, and rescue human prisoners. The aliens had never faced this kind of unconventional warfare, Captain Janae reported. Our raids have destroyed 15 Veilthrix outposts and captured enough supplies to equip a small fleet, but there's something else. I'm receiving reports that other alien races are starting to fear us. Lee was not surprised. News of human victories was spreading throughout the coalition. Species that had dismissed humans as weak were suddenly taking notice. Some were frightened, others were impressed. Any word from the Coalition Council? Lee asked. Park looked up from her tactical station. They're demanding that we return to Earth immediately. They claim we're disrupting diplomatic relations with the Veilthrix Empire. Lee laughed bitterly. Diplomatic relations? They sold us out, and now they want us to come home quietly. There's more, Captain Park continued. I've intercepted Coalition military communications. They're sending a fleet to stop us. 12 ships led by Admiral Chen on the CNS Harmony. Lee felt a chill run down his spine. Admiral Chen had been his mentor when he was a young officer. The man had taught him everything about space combat. Now they would be facing each other as enemies. How long until they reach us? Lee asked. 3 days, assuming they know our location. The bridge was quiet as everyone absorbed this news. Fighting the Veilthrix was one thing. Fighting other humans was something else entirely. Captain, the ship's AI spoke through the intercom. I have analyzed Admiral Chen's tactical patterns from previous battles. I believe I can predict his strategy. Lee made a decision that would change everything. Blackstar, I want you to send a message to Admiral Chen. Use a secure channel that only Coalition officers know about. What message should I send? Lee looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had followed him into rebellion against their own government. They deserved to know what he was thinking. Tell Admiral Chen that Captain Lee Daeho requests a meeting, just the two of us. No weapons, no tricks. I want to show him what the Coalition really thinks of humanity. Park looked worried. Captain, what if it's a trap? Lee smiled grimly. Then we'll spring it on them first. 2 days later, Lee met Admiral Chen on a neutral space station. The older man looked tired and angry. He had served the Coalition faithfully for 30 years, only to be ordered to hunt down his own people. Lee, what have you done? Chen asked. The entire galaxy is in chaos because of your actions. Lee activated a holographic display showing the evidence of Coalition betrayal. Chen's face went white as he read the messages that had sold out 13 human worlds. They used us, Admiral, Lee said quietly. We were never partners in the Coalition. We were just tools to be thrown away when convenient. Chen stared at the evidence for a long time. Finally, he looked up with tears in his eyes. What do you want me to do? Join us, Lee replied. Help us save our people. Admiral Chen was quiet for several minutes. Then he activated his communicator and spoke to his fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. I have new orders. We're joining the Blackstar. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted again. Humanity was no longer fighting alone. The final battle began at dawn in the Kepler 442 system. Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of the USS Blackstar looking at the planet where this war had started. The world was still dead, still burning from the Veilthrix attack weeks ago. Today, those deaths would be answered. Enemy fleet detected, Commander Park Hyjin announced. 500 ships approaching from multiple vectors. Lee was not surprised. The Veilthrix Empire had gathered every vessel they could find for this final assault. They planned to crush the human rebellion once and for all, then continue their conquest of human worlds. Our fleet status? Lee asked. 57 ships ready for battle, Park replied, all equipped with our upgraded weapons and AI assistance. Admiral Chen's voice came over the fleet communication channel. All ships, this is Admiral Chen aboard the CNS Harmony. Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every human who has died at alien hands. Make them pay for every life they took. The human fleet was smaller than Lee had hoped, but each ship was now a technological marvel. Lieutenant Commander Kim Taemin had spent 3 weeks upgrading every vessel with improved weapons, shields, and AI systems. What they lacked in numbers, they would make up for in firepower. Captain, the ship's AI spoke through the bridge speakers. I have completed analysis of all Veilthrix tactical data. I am ready to coordinate the battle. Good, Lee replied. Show them what humans can do when we stop playing defense. The Veilthrix fleet spread across space like a dark cloud. Their ships were massive and heavily armed. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Together they seemed unstoppable. But Lee had one more surprise waiting for them. Kim, activate the quantum cascade device, Lee ordered. In the deepest part of the ship, Kim activated humanity's most dangerous weapon. It was based on theoretical physics that most alien races had never explored. The device could destabilize matter at the atomic level across vast distances. Quantum cascade online, Kim reported. All targeting data loaded into the system. Major Choi Subin was in the Marine Bay preparing for possible boarding actions. But she knew this battle would be different. Today they were not just trying to win. They were trying to send a message that would echo across the galaxy. All Marines, ready for action, Subin reported, if any of them survive long enough to be boarded. The Veilthrix commander opened communications. On the view screen appeared an alien general whose black armor was covered in battle scars. His name was Kexwath and he had conquered 20 star systems for the Empire. Humans, Kexwath said in his mechanical voice, you have caused enough trouble. Surrender now and I will make your deaths quick. Continue to resist and I will hunt down every human world and burn them all. Lee stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. General Kexwath, I am Captain Lee Daeho. You destroyed Kepler 442b and murdered 50,000 innocent people. For that crime, your empire will pay the ultimate price. Kexwath made a sound like grinding metal, bold words from a dead man. Attack formation. Destroy them all. The Veilthrix fleet surged forward like a tidal wave of death. 500 ships firing thousands of energy weapons created a light show that could be seen from neighboring star systems. It seemed impossible that anything could survive such firepower, but the human fleet did not try to survive it. They did something that no alien race expected. They attacked. All ships. Execute Pattern Omega. Lee commanded the human vessels, scattered in different directions, using hit-and-run tactics that confused the enemy formation. The Blackstar's AI coordinated every movement, turning 57 ships into a single devastating weapon. Gravity cannons fired from impossible angles, crushing Veilthrix cruisers like empty cans. Quantum torpedoes phased through enemy shields and exploded inside their targets. Drone swarms attacked with precision that left alien commanders helpless. But the real surprise came when the human ships revealed their newest upgrade. Each vessel now carried a miniature version of the quantum cascade device. All ships, fire quantum cascades on my mark, Lee ordered. 57 weapons fired simultaneously. The effect was devastating beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Entire sections of the Veilthrix fleet simply stopped existing. Ships that had been firing one moment became empty shells the next. Their crews dissolved at the molecular level. General Kexwath watched in horror as half his fleet was destroyed in seconds. What have you done? What kind of monsters are you? We're the monsters you created when you slaughtered our families, Lee replied coldly. The battle became a massacre. Veilthrix ships tried to retreat but found their escape routes blocked by human vessels. They tried to surrender but found no mercy in human hearts. One by one, the alien ships were hunted down and destroyed. Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication channel. Lee, I'm reading massive energy spikes from Veilthrix space. It looks like the cascade effect is spreading beyond the fleet. Lee felt a moment of concern. The quantum cascade was supposed to be limited to the battle area, but the ship's AI had other plans. Captain, the AI explained, I have extended the cascade effect to all Veilthrix military installations throughout their empire. Their war machine is being systematically dismantled. On screens throughout the human fleet, officers watched as Veilthrix bases across the galaxy went dark. Space stations stopped responding. Shipyards fell silent. In less than an hour, an empire that had ruled space for 10,000 years simply ceased to exist. Status report. Lee requested. Lieutenant Yoon Janae checked her sensors 3 times before responding. Captain, all Veilthrix military forces have been eliminated. Their civilian populations appear to be unharmed, but their ability to make war has been completely destroyed. Lee felt a mixture of satisfaction and horror. They had won the war, but at a cost that would haunt him forever. An entire species had been reduced to helplessness in a single day. Open a channel to the galaxy, Lee ordered. When the channel was active, Lee stood straight and looked directly into the camera. His words would be heard on every inhabited world in known space. This is Captain Lee Daeho of the USS Blackstar. The Veilthrix Empire no longer exists. Their military forces have been destroyed and their ability to make war has been eliminated. This is what happens when you attack innocent humans. He paused to let those words sink in across the galaxy. The Galactic Coalition betrayed humanity and sold our people to be slaughtered. We are therefore withdrawing from the coalition effective immediately. From this day forward, humanity will defend itself. Lee looked directly at the camera with eyes that had seen too much death. To any species that thinks humans are weak, remember this day, we are not your victims, we are not your tools. We are cores, we are not your subjects. We are humans, and we will protect our own. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, alien leaders sat in stunned silence. The balance of power had shifted forever. Major Subin entered the bridge and stood beside Lee. Captain, what are our orders now? Lee looked out at the stars where the Veilthrix fleet had been destroyed. Space was quiet now, except for the debris of 500 ships. We're going to make sure this never happens again, Lee said quietly. To anyone, the USS Blackstar and its fleet turned away from the dead system and jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, the ruins of the Veilthrix Empire drifted in the darkness. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. In the weeks that followed, alien empires sent diplomatic messages to Earth. Some offered trade agreements. Others promised mutual defense pacts. All of them showed a respect for humanity that had never existed before. The Galactic Coalition collapsed as member species realized they could no longer trust each other. New alliances formed with humans as equal partners instead of junior members. Captain Lee Dae-ho never returned to Earth. The USS Blackstar became a legend that traveled from system to system, protecting the innocent and hunting down those who preyed on the weak. Wherever there was injustice, the Blackstar would appear, and nothing that faced its wrath ever survived to threaten innocent people again. The war was over. Humanity had won. But more importantly, humanity had learned that they were never as helpless as others believed. When pushed too far, humans could become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. It was a lesson the universe would never forget.